Good afternoon, 5 o'clock on the East Coast on a Monday. Baseball is still a thing. Baseball still doing its deal for the next, 3 or 4 weeks or so, winding down to the end of the season. Hope, guys are probably all NFL'd out. If you still like some NFL, there's a showdown slate later on this evening. You got first blood revenge game for Russell Wilson against the old Seattle Seahawks. That showdown slate is going to be on I think it's 8:15, so I want to say 7:30 as far as that show. You got Blender and Will. Blender telling you all the players you can and cannot play. Should be a fun show. Make sure to tune in for that. That's why you subscribe and you hit the like button and you turn on those notifications so you know when such things as showdown slates are going down. Stevie, you mentioned before the show, it's just myself and you. It's just the two of us. It's an intimate show. Obviously, 6:40 lock tonight if y'all aren't aware. There's 2 early games at 6:40. Both Fanduel and DK cooperated, and they both on their main slate included those first 2 6:40 games. One difference between the sites today is the back half of the Marlins and Rangers doubleheader is on DK. It is not on Fanduel. First game already went down. Rangers won 3-2. I think that's they did a day night doubleheader. I think that's to get double gate, so you don't get screwed as far as attendance. But I can't imagine what was the paid attendance for a Monday at 1 o'clock. The Texas Rangers and the Marlins, longtime rivals. I mean, there couldn't have been more than 3,000 people in that building. I can't imagine. But they fudged those numbers too, Stevie. I'm curious what the official attendance was. It couldn't have been much. But now the players are just sticking around and playing poker or something in the locker room until, I guess they're probably doing batting practice now. They've been chilling for a couple hours or so, though. Stevie,
they don't do batting practice on the second game of a doubleheader.
Yeah, I guess they don't. What do they do? What are they're just hanging out, playing some poker?
Yeah, they're probably playing Xbox or something, just hanging out.
Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, you gotta include Texas and the Marlins, though. The Marlins got to get extra couple $1,000 with the attendance, whatever it may be. So they can't chop it up, or they have to chop it up. They God forbid they give away a doubleheader to give away a gate for one game. But this is me just taking a shot at the Marlins for no particular reason, just because.
Box score says 5,000, little over 5,000 today.
I will smash the under on that. That's always a fudge number, and they're saying 5,000. Oof, I want to see screenshots of that game.
Yeah,
it's probably. Yeah, Casey in the chat. What's up, Casey? Is saying
someone just posted, and
5,000 people, 5,095, and Casey will take the under. I'll take the under. That's what the sharp money is for sure. On scores and odds, the under is written up. Stevie, you said right before we went on there, oh man, we're gonna breeze right through this, and we certainly can. We can breeze right through it, and we can knock it out in 30 minutes or 25 minutes. But we're committed. We're contractually obligated to be on until 6 o'clock on the East Coast, give or take, when we're relieved by the Crunch Time crew. I believe the Crunch Time crew. You got the A squad with Derek Carty, busy with the bat, busy with the blitz. You got chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. Not too much weather-wise, unless something has changed. I think there's something with the Mets game. Okay, so yellow-orange with the Mets. I'll go ahead and drop that in chat for the people. So we definitely want to keep our eye on it. And there's a big paragraph to read at your own leisure. Feel free to do so. But we'll keep an eye on that. And if that changes, Roth, of course, will be all over it. Green-yellow in Cincinnati for what it's worth. Nothing too scary there. Winds blowing out in San Francisco with that ballpark. Minimizes the wind factor, so not a lot to note as well. And you get a 2-time millionaire winner, Dave Potts. Cheese is good. He'll be joining the show in about an hour or so, taking you guys straight up to lock again, 6:40 lock. Steven, we can breeze right through it and then rely on the chat to keep us going and powering through and asking questions for the last 20 minutes or so, or we can just kind of briskly take our time. I don't know which you prefer. Should I ask you about football yesterday? Did you have any takeaway? As a Dolphin fan, you must feel pretty good. You beat the Patriots. It's not really the Patriots, but it was the Patriots. That's what it said in their uniforms. So you got to be excited about that.
I played the Dolphins defense everywhere yesterday. So, that was nice. I don't think the Patriots are a good kind of judge. I think it's going to be a kind of a down year for the Patriots. So it's tough to say. I'm excited for the Dolphins season in general this year. We have so much speed on offense. The defense is really good. The problem is we have to play the Bills twice. So
you're in the wrong division.
Yeah, we're in the wrong division at the end of the day. But I think we have a good season. But Yeah, I mean, nothing really to take away. I had a really good day. Week 1 has always been really good to me. I don't overthink week 1. I feel like I overthink a lot of football weeks, but I think my cash lineup on DraftKings scored like 195 or something with Harris, so it was a good day. But yeah, I mean, Cowboys looked awful last night. I was watching that when we were recording the morning grind, and I'm glad I didn't have sound on because it was awful. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think that week 1 went how I kind of expected it to go. A couple upsets, but nothing too crazy. And go back to the Marlins game really quick. Wouldn't a day Marlins baseball game be like the best ball hawking experience ever? Like,
What's that?
Campbell, no one is there early. What's that?
Ball, as far as like getting a baseball from from the game, or a foul ball, or finding a way to getting asking a player for a baseball. Is that you're talking about? Is that what ball hawking means?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Zach Campbell, whatever. That's the character who throws kids out of the way to get his 9,000th baseball.
He does not throw kids out of the way.
You're a Zach Campbell stan? Are you serious?
I am a fan.
Oh, yep. Come on. I mean,
he's cool, man. I mean,
why does he need 7,000 baseballs? What if everybody needed 7,000 baseballs?
Do you know how many baseballs he gives away to kids, though? And he's at 12,000.
Then he gives it to him 3 months later, and the kid's already traumatized.
He just caught number 12,000. It's not 7,000. I was just watching the YouTube video before we started. Actually, it's funny. But no, he gives baseballs to kids all the time. He doesn't keep all the baseballs. When he first started, he kept a lot more baseballs. But I feel like Zach Campbell early days is way different than Zach Campbell nowadays.
I don't know. I just know him basically when I see him pop up on Twitter. I don't follow his account or Twitter, so whatever. I can't say much beyond him. Some of the clips I've seen, and maybe they look at they show him in a poor light. But and I saw somebody else stealing a baseball from 4 girls. I don't know if you saw that clip too. It's like, come on, man, just you're 40 years old. What are you gonna do with that baseball? Give it to a kid, man. Make their day.
He does give. See, you need to go watch some Zach Campbell YouTube videos.
All right, fair enough. I guess I'll give him a shot, I suppose, but I've only seen the negative. But I did find I was doing a search on Twitter. I was trying to find pictures of the crowd today for the Marlins. I did see an Onion headline, which is pretty hilarious, and there's a great picture that includes it. I dropped it in the chat for the people. Derek Jeter just going to go. This is from 2019 when Derek Jeter was a part of the franchise. Derek Jeter just going to go ahead and start counting stray cats in Marlins attendance figures, which I thought was hilarious. There's a couple cats in the crowd and one person, and they officially count. It's not like Bark in the Park Day, but there you go. It was minimal. It was minimal as far as the Marlins attendance. Let's just go ahead and say that. Trying to find some pictures from today, but not impressive.
I mean, to be fair, it was probably. Would you have rather been at a Marlins game or in the RotoGrinders office today? Because I mean, Tennessee did lose to the Giants in Tennessee. And we know there's a lot of Titans fans in that office. So would you rather been at a Marlins game or would you have rather been in the office today?
Yeah, I saw they were in there's some kind of event going on where Soccer Day was talking to Dan Box put it out, the Javon Curse. So I'm sure he's excited about hanging out with Javon Curse briefly, at least for a photo op. But yeah, it was probably pretty somber there. I don't know if Devin's available to chime in. I know Devin's a Titan fan, and I'm not sure if he's in office today or not. So if he can give us a
somber is a good word, Dean. I'm having flashbacks. I was saying in chat.
I'm sad, Devin. On behalf of my, I'm in a reverse survivor pool. I'm in a couple, and I picked the Titans. No, I picked the Giants to lose. You're supposed to just pick losers. So I lost there, and I picked the Bengals. Those are my losers, and I'm already out. So it was a good run for your boy. It's already over for me. Good season for them.
You hate to see it. You really hate to see it.
Yeah, I felt you just got to get past week 1, and you don't want to. There was no overwhelming favorite in week 1. There's no 10-point favorite. I like Kansas City versus Arizona, but typically you want to pick teams at home. Typically you don't want to pick on teams. You want to pick on teams on the road. So I'm I can save that. And I had it kind of mapped out for the first 3 weeks, and you know how plans go sometimes. But
best laid plans is, I believe, the phrase. Yes.
Yeah, it was a disaster for your boy. So now I'm going to concentrate. I'm going to focus more on DFS.
My single entry experience so far has gone well. I pivoted to a Cousins Jefferson stack. Aaron Jones didn't do much in that stack, but at least I had a comfy cash.
I didn't dig through like the results DB, but I really think that there's an opportunity to, because some people, when they make their one lineup and their one lineup only, and they were even talking about this in the podcast, the football podcast, you feel free to throw up on the screen, Devin, the JM's podcast with Scroll Patrol. There's a specific podcast just for single entry. And I love that stuff. I love that conversation. And we'll talk about it in baseball too. Baseball, the highest variant sport, is like all the chalk gets lifted so much. And in football, that's the case as well. And you don't have to be that different. You're going to roster really good players. They're just not going to see ownership because it's the one lineup and people want to put their quote unquote optimal lineup in there. And that's probably not the way to go. Just be a little bit different. And you can make some really, really nice lineups at low ownership. Did you happen to catch the ownership stuff in your lineup? Did you notice that, Devin, as far as the ownership for your single entry contest yesterday?
I'm sorry, I was reading somebody in chat. You were talking about heightened ownership on sort of chalky optimal plays and single entry.
Well, you mentioned single entry. Did you happen to notice maybe a little bit different as far as the ownership in that contest as opposed to other contests? And I don't know, were you listening to the single entry podcast, or do you have a general strategy for single entry contests? Because I think you're supposed to you're not supposed to play like the absolute, not all of it, obviously, but you can get away from the good stuff and still get good stuff, and nobody's going to play it. It's kind of the point I'm making.
Yeah, and I think that was why I forget the game total for the Green Bay Minnesota game, but it seemed like based on Gridiron IQ that production could be had there, and everybody was looking at Raiders, Chargers, and KC Arizona. So
yeah,
seemed like a pretty sharp pivot, and then I could just fill in around it.
Yeah, KC did their part, but Arizona did not participate in the scoring yesterday, which was kind of a problem. Kansas City basically just called off those dogs after 2.5 quarters, whatever it was. Steve, you like the single entry stuff, the 3 entry stuff? Well, what was you said you had a good day yesterday. Congratulations. I did well on DK. I did poor on Fanduel. It just sort of works out that way sometimes. And overall net loser. But hey, it's DFS. We care about today and today only. And going forward, we learn from yesterday's failures. But Stevie, what was your best lineup, or was it single entry? Where were you focusing on as far as your best success?
My best lineup was actually my main lineup. And I say main lineup because I run a cash lineup in single entry stuff too. Like I said, it scored 195. My early only is where I crushed though. I had a really good early only slate. Finished top 10 in a lot of tournaments on both FanDuel and DraftKings early only. So it was very high.
I don't make a point to play that contest. Should I be playing those?
I mean, I think everyone should, but
yeah.
I mean, my early only team scored like 175 on DK. It was built around Hurts, AJ Brown, St. Brown, like kind of stack, and then Jamar Chase because no one was playing him for some reason. So he was a huge difference maker, and I had a 0 in my lineup, and I still top 10 on both sites. I had both tight ends scored 0 for me.
Chase was wild yesterday because he could have had like 3 or 4 touchdowns. I feel like he was one where he was tackled like the inch line, one where he got in and scored and they just didn't give it to him. And for whatever reason, Cincinnati, I think they were hurrying up. So they just ran a play and lost a yard or two on the 1 yard line. There's another one.
Cost him a touchdown and they cost him the win.
Yeah. There was several, and one where he couldn't get his toe down essentially, but he was very close to, he got 1.5 feet in. He was good, but he could have just a remarkable day. He left a lot of fantasy points on the board for sure. Just checking in on the chat, seeing what they're up to. Max Video is asking what happened to my stash. Man, you got to keep up with, man. That's 12 episodes ago, man.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I forgot I even had one, to be honest. I got to shave again. This is 4 or 5 days or so. Yeah, it ran its course. Maybe we'll run it back for No Shave November or something like that. But is Jimmy going to be on the trade block? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure if the Cowboys have the money to even trade for or really matter, but we know Dak's going to be out for 2 months. Mitchell's going to be out for 2 months. Is it 2 months? Is that right for San Fran? Is that what I read? He's going to be out for a bit. The running back. That
was my survivor pick this week. I had the 49ers over the Bears. So I'm out
yeah.
Too. Done.
Yeah, because I didn't like the muck. Weird things happen in the muck. I didn't like San Fran on the road, 1 o'clock game. No, not all the way east, but you know what I mean. I thought I was being cute by getting away, and I'm like, oh, I can knock out, a couple teams that aren't spectacular. It's a long season, yada yada. But I've not fired up. Did you watch the Cobra Kai, Stevie? Derek in chat's asking about Cobra Kai. I know the new season's
I have not gotten to the 5th season yet. I mean, I watch it. I'll probably watch it in like 2 days. Like when I actually watch it, it's just last week was kind of busy. You know, first week of NFL, had NASCAR going, got baseball going. I do some F1 content. So, I mean, busy times. So no F1 this weekend. NASCAR is racing earlier in the week. So we'll see how this week plays out. Maybe I'll watch it this week. But
you are the director of that's the official title. I was going to say Formula One racing. That's like director of like cars, but there's a more official way of saying that. What is
motorsports.
It? Motorsports. I couldn't think of that term.
Cars is good too. We'll take it. Director of cars. I mean, that's solid. We'll just run with that, Dean. Like,
you can use that. You can use that title.
I'm sure I won't get. I'm sure I won't get any like messages from Disney at all.
Larry the Cable Guy is not going to be happy that you're infringing on his franchise. All right, let's talk the baseball slate. And whatever is on your mind, chat, feel free to chime in. We're going to bring y'all in whenever it's pertinent to the conversation, and sometimes maybe even when it's not. We'll see. 6-gamer on FanDuel, 7-gamer on DK. Again, DK is including the back half of that Marlins Texas game. I believe the Texas lineup just dropped. I didn't go through and see who played in game
normal
one.
Lineup: Simeon, Seager, Lowe, Garcia, Heim.
The rookie, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I know he had a homer in his very first at bat. He's a bit of a prospect. Is that Young or Jung? I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like a long J, but my apologies. Probably should know that. The Marlins just dropped their lineup too. Birdie leading off. They shut down Jazz for the year. If you didn't know that was happening, he's dealing with a back. Hopefully he comes back good to go next season. He's a lot of fun. Birdie, Anderson, Wendell, Cooper, Abaciel Garcia also shut down. Cooper, Fortes, Blade, LeBlanc, De La Cruz. What is this? A terrible lineup. You really can't pick on it because Gray is drawing the start for Texas, and I saw a report like 55 pitches or so is basically what he's expected. Texas going nowhere. No reason to push him. Coming back from the IL. I don't believe he had any rehab starts.
He didn't.
Yeah, so I don't think
it's been over a month.
Yeah, so like it's just not. He's probably going to be, well, theoretically should be okay for 3 or 4 innings or something like that. Maybe 5 would be super efficient, but probably not necessary. India not playing. If you're looking at it as far as Cincinnati, he was somebody who was on my radar earlier today. One of the bigger totals on the board. Nice ballpark. 2 pitchers that are kind of shaky. 2 lineups that kind of stink too. No O'Neill Cruz for the Pittsburgh side. If you're considering him left on left, he's not been as good, obviously. And the Tampa lineup is without 2 of their better players. Surprisingly, no Brandon Lau versus Barrios, and also no Wander Franco. So that Tampa lineup certainly takes a hit as well. Still waiting for, I guess there's 2 night games, right? The Dodgers in Arizona, 9:40 on the East Coast, as well as Atlanta, San Fran. Not going to get those games. Give me your screenshot. It's pretty straightforward, right? Like, the good pitchers are. It's not that hard to play them. Strider, the Hound, Bassett, and then you got Framber Valdez and his completely insane streak of quality starts, 23 straight quality starts, a quality start if you aren't aware, 6 innings pitched, no more than 3 earned runs. And I went through it. I was just kind of curious. That happened beginning of the year, Stevie. So the last time Framber Valdez did not throw a quality start, Aaron Judge had 1 home run. It's basically the entire season. Just ridiculous. I don't like to use the word safe. I know Carty gets upset if you say safe, but if there is a safe pitcher, if we're going to use the word safety, nobody's safer than Framber Valdez. It is like 70% ground balls as well. But you tell me, Stevie. Pretty clear who the best pitchers are. Where are you planting your flag as far as pitchers?
I mean, I think Strider is the best pitcher on the slate. The Giants lineup dealing with some injuries, so not the best lineup in the world. Really, the only power bat in there is Jock Peterson. And, I mean, you're a little worried about him. But, I mean, Strider strikes out both sides of the plate. So I think he is the top option. I think he's going to be the highest owned. But I honestly, this is one of those slates where I'm just not really going to overthink pitching. I think pitching is pretty straightforward on this slate. I want to play Strider, Valdez, and maybe Bassett, depending on the weather in that game. We'll have to see what Roth has to say, if that one's going to be okay or not. But honestly, I'm looking at Valdez and Strider. John Gray pitch count, Tyler Anderson not a ton of ceiling, Alex Cobb against the Braves. Maybe you could take a shot on Berrios with this lineup that came out for Tampa. You know, you're worried about lefties with Berrios, and like you said, their two best lefties are not in the lineup tonight. But I mean, overall, he's still getting 4 or 5 lefties in this lineup. So
5. You got Choi, Peralta, Aranda, Mejia, and Walls. It's not the best collection of lefties.
Mejia and Walls strike out at such a high clip. So does Choi. So I mean, I think Berrios, if you want to save some money, I don't know if you necessarily need to save some money. I think that he is the one guy you maybe save some money on today and play. But I think Strider and Valdez is kind of where I'm ending up on most of my builds.
Yeah, and that combination is going to be really popular on DK. 7 games, 14 pitchers, but some we're going to talk, you just kind of throw away and not even consider. We're talking about 53% ownership for Strider, and this is large field stuff. And single entry, 3 entry max is going to be distinctly higher than that, in my opinion. We're looking at Strider at 53%, Bassett at 43%, Valdez at 41%. Hold on, my UCF math. I'm trying to figure. That's like 130 of 200 potential ownership points to go around. That's it. It's going to be Spencer Strider, Bassett, Valdez. They're going to largely consume a good chunk of the ownership on DK. 135%. Yeah, I got to use that calculator a little better in my head, give or take. Obviously, this stuff is it's not an exact science, but more or less, it's going to be a combination of 2 of those 3. Not the best matchup in the world, but Cobb's a pretty solid arm, good ballpark. You don't really want to pick on Atlanta. Atlanta does offer some strikeouts theoretically. That Pittsburgh lineup is not good, and it's worse versus lefties, but Mike Minor is also really bad, and the ballpark's not good, and he gives up fly balls, and that's a bad ballpark to give up fly balls. So, and we'll be talking about Pittsburgh as far as cheapies to make your lineups work, and Cincinnati even more so. I think that's the best place to shop as far as some cheapies. Aristides Aquino's at 2K. You got Fraley, who's going to be popular. And the third one, I'm losing his name for some reason in my head. Friedel is leading off. And even, Farmer's not cheap, but like that whole stack in general, everybody's cheap on Cincinnati. Chucky Robinson is the 2K catcher. Steer is 2.6. They are crazy, crazy cheap. You can get 2 studs, Cincinnati players, and you can stack a good team too. It's not very hard. You can make that work, and I think lineup construction, we'll talk about it. Beyond those 3, Stevie, what else is there to say? And I know you only make, 2 or 3 lineups, so you're probably not going to stray much beyond. But if you're going to expand your pitching pool, who's next? Who's next, and who are you going to throw a floaty to? Who else is available? Who else is pool worthy amongst the group of Erod and Bryce Wilson and Jose Barrios, Tyler Anderson? Yeah,
none of them. I mean, we talked about Berrios, and you could potentially take a shot on him if you're playing large field. If you're playing 150 lineups today, I think there's a case to be made for Mike Minor. I like the Pittsburgh bats just as much as everybody else, but you look at the bottom half of this lineup, there's 5 guys with strikeout rates over 25%, so could Mike Minor run on the right side of home run to fly ball? Could, maybe he gives up 1 or 2 home runs. But that's just if you're playing a lot in a large field tournament. Maybe Alex Cobb against Atlanta, they do strike out enough. But, I don't think I want to play Tyler Anderson. He doesn't really have a huge ceiling. John Gray, we already talked about, the pitch count. I think he's someone that probably ends up with, 8 to 10 fantasy points. Nelson pitched really well in his first start, but the Dodgers are just such a tough team, where the Padres on paper are a tough team, but, they disappear. So, Nelson having a good start against them, he struggled with home runs in the minors. So I think Nelson's someone you probably stay away from. Maybe Braxton Garrett, but honestly, Dean, I usually play 3 lineups, and today I'm playing 1. This slate, I built 1 team. I got everything I wanted on the team that I built, and I was super happy with it. So I switched from playing 3 entry max to single entry stuff. So I think Garrett I think Garrett's probably the best outside of Barrios. But like I said, if you're playing 150, I would get a little of exposure to Mike Minor because it's kind of hedging your Pittsburgh bats because you're going to play some Pittsburgh bats. We're going to talk about that game. That game's just juicy in general. So, but I think for the most part, you're sticking with Strider, Bass, and Valdez today. There's plenty of value to make it work.
A couple things in the chat. Yeah, John Gray, the report is basically 55 baseballs for him. So probably not going to be, definitely not playing John Gray at 8.8. Again, only available on DK, not available on Fanduel. He should be okay, but, there's no reason to push him at this point. He's just coming back from injury. Did not have any rehab starts. Derek's asking about Nelson. You sort of touched on it. He's like the number 8 or 9 prospect in the organization, not a mega prospect. And good for him.
Not
he was
top
good
50 in
start.
baseball or anything like that. Yeah.
Say it again.
He's not top 50 in baseball either.
No.
He's not. I mean, he has an electric arm. He has good fastball. He has good strikeout stuff. His numbers in the minors were good strikeout wise, but his biggest thing is command and fly balls and home runs. So, I mean, that's not the problems you want when you're facing the Dodgers. And he throws I was looking at his minor league stats. He throws 70% fastballs. And I don't know about you, Dean. I don't know if I want any pitcher throwing 70% fastballs against the Dodgers. You pull up plate IQ and you look at what they do against fastballs, and it's just green. There's no red. It's just straight green what they do against fastballs. So it's wild. It's just not the spot I think you want to go today for Nelson.
I don't know, Dodgers are good against fastballs. I just know, Dodgers are good. So I don't – is there a certain pitch that they've been vulnerable to or just they've excelled against fastballs? I don't want to pick in the Dodgers, and that's that. I don't care what you're throwing. It's sort of my – and especially if you're, Nelson, who's, again, not a huge prospect in the organization. He's top 10, but, 8 or 9 or something like that. And the Dodgers are just the best hitting team in baseball against righties. If you look at, I think it's them and the Mets, I want to say, are tied.
Yeah, them and the Mets.
Yeah. We always talk about the Cardinals against lefties, but I think I want to say they have a WRC plus collectively of a 122. I was looking at it earlier this morning. But, yeah, I don't want to pick in the Dodgers when I can avoid it. I think it's very easily avoided. I see Jose in the chat saying for cash, Nelson and Strider versus Bassett and Valdez. You can't play Nelson in cash. You can't do that. Could it work? Sure. But that's not the right process. You're not supposed to. You got to pick 2 of Strider, Bassett, and Valdez.
I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Well, that's what I just asked him the question. Maybe Jose's a football guy.
Yeah, I mean, I would go Strider, Bassett, even because when you're looking at price, assuming because I'm guessing it's on DraftKings because it's 2 pitchers. So
it's gotta be, yeah.
Strider is cheaper than Valdez. So, I mean, yeah, I think I'd go Bassett, Strider.
Yeah, it could be Yahoo, I suppose. I saw somebody mention in Yahoo that they are including, I think, the 6-10 game, but I'm guessing they're not including the Marlins game. If you're playing on Yahoo today, I'm not. So I can't speak that from seeing it, but that appears to be what's going on Yahoo if you're playing over there. So Shannon's what about the 4K Crapper Cooper? And my answer to that is, well, I don't think he's going to go very deep, right? And it seems terribly unnecessary. We're looking at 57 projected pitches. What are you going to do with that money? It's kind of my question. You can have no punts, I guess. That's one way of doing it. But I'm not having a hard time making lineups I like with 2 pitchers I like. It's sort of my take. So you tell me otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, I don't know. His stats doesn't look good. I mean, he started the season in that Florida league and then kind of got moved up to AA. They moved him up to AAA, and he's done a little bit in AAA, but it just seems like he's more of a filler here. I don't think he goes more than 4 innings. Even Garrett's kind of on a pitch count too. I don't think Garrett goes over 70 pitches here. So it goes back to that conversation of we're probably playing Valdez, Strider, and Bassett today. and being different with the bats.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And I'm sure people, and like, they're programmed and we're programmed. It's like, well, if everybody's playing, then we got to find a way to get different than that. And that's, I suppose, the best way. I'm more likely to be different with the bats than I am with the arms. And I think that sounds like what you're saying as well, too. I did run some optimals using the Derek Carty's, the bat, this one, and I capped it like 85. And let's see, 81% Strider, 71% Bassett, and 37% Valdez for the record. Cobb got a pinch and Minor got a pinch. My hot take today in the survey, and like the survey, you got to have a hot take. You got to be ambitious. You can't just be like, Spencer Strider is going to be good. Like, that's not helpful to anybody. But you mentioned Minor, and my hot take was he'll be a top 2 pitcher in this slate. Do I think he's going to be? No. But that's why it's a hot take. And I think there's a path. I think there's a chance. Because he can throw 100 pitches if he's pitching well. He's got a leash, and that Pittsburgh lineup's not great. And like you said, the homer and the fly ball can be on his side. And instead of 3 homers, 3 balls that die in the warning track, and he survives the slate. Not a lot of conviction behind it, but that's what a hot take is. What was your hot take today, Stevie? I believe you wrote the survey.
I think it was Reds Pirates score 15 plus runs.
So the other side of that, yeah.
There you go.
Which I hear that too, and that's not a bad hot take either. They're both fine, I think.
I think my 4th pitcher on this slate would either be Cobb or Berrios. Like, just from looking, I mean, Berrios, we talked about him already, but I mean, looking at like Alex Cobb here, 24% Ks, good ground ball pitcher. Atlanta strikes out a ton. My only concern is, I mean, they have a lot of fly ball hitters and it's a ground ball pitcher, but this game's in San Francisco. I could see that game being super low scoring. I mean, just when you're picking on the Braves, they're just such a strong lineup. I mean, the top 6 or 7 hitters are just so good. So that's my only concern about Cobb. But I mean, he's a good pitcher. I mean, at the end of the day, he's an above average pitcher. He doesn't give up a ton of fly balls. He strikes out people. He limits power. So I think Cobb would probably be my 4th and Berrios would be my 5th. And then, like I said, if you're playing 150, maybe you roll the dice and take some Mike Minor here as a contrarian move off of some of the Pittsburgh bats.
Yeah, I'm pulling up our consensus rankings. Myself, the Day Pots, CheeseIsGood, Mr. Tuttle, Chopper. We basically have 6 pitchers. You got to rank 6, and we basically rank all the same 6 guys, with the exception of Chop, who went off the board a little bit and did not play Minor. But it's pretty clear the ones are like at least in the pool, the big pool, and who the top ones are amongst those. In the chats, question from Red Scout: is Bassett safe in cash? Don't love using the word safe, but like as safe pitchers go, I think he's pretty safe. Should say there's potential weather there. Roth is going to be on top of that, but it is yellow-orange as of his last update. He'll be on in about a half hour, let you know. That could be one reason why it might not be safe. But, like, as pitchers go, he has a long leash. He rarely gets his face punched in. He's not facing a good lineup. It's in a great ballpark. If you want to use the word safe, I guess you can. And that Chicago lineup, by the way, have you seen the Ks on the plate IQ for the Chicago lineup? Or look, I know he's not a great K pitcher. He's fine, 23%. But if you pull it up, Stevie, 28% collectively as far as strikeouts. Wisdom is back. I think he's been out for a while. Wisdom at 33%. Reyes at 34%. McKinstry at 25%. So everybody's at least 20. Ortega is their contact hitter at 20%. I don't know what the number is right now in the sports book on Bassett, but this is if you're betting over on strikeouts, this is the lineup you wanted to see. This is a really good strikeout matchup for Bassett.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to come down to weather with Bassett. I mean, this game's in Citi Field. He's in a fantastic spot. If it's an iffy spot, maybe you take a shot on Bassett over Valdez or Strider in tournaments. But, I mean, if it's iffy in cash games, you're just playing Valdez and Strider. I mean, just don't overthink this slate. People are going to be focused on Monday Night Football, and you take advantage of it. I mean, be different with your bats if you want to. Be different with your lineup construction if you want to. I mean, we could talk about that even more. But, like, today I'm being different with my lineup construction. I'm going, like, 3-3-2 and 4-2-2 on FanDuel. Like, just to be different with my lineup construction because I think a lot of people today will go 2 of the top 3 pitchers, 2 of the top 4 pitchers, and then go and try to make like a 5-man stack. So,
yeah,
I mean, I love stacking, but I'm going to take the 2 pitchers I want, and I'm going to build around that with different lineup construction. I did it on Fanduel too. Like on Fanduel, I went 4-2-2. On DraftKings, I have a 3-3-2 right now. So I'm being different and trying to be different with my lineup construction with my lineups, not my pitching. My pitching, it is what it is. I'm going to play the guys that I like, and I'm just not going to overthink pitching today.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do as far as my hitters as well, just kind of shuffling it up. And, we have some good offenses that are against some like unknowns, right? The Dodgers are a really good offense, and they're facing a pitcher they probably never really seen before in Nelson. Javier Assad, small sample, but the Mets should theoretically do well against them. The ballpark stinks, but it's still a good offense. We talked about how the Mets are one of the best hitting teams in all of baseball against righties as well. Cooper Criswell, whenever comes out of that bullpen there, Toronto certainly in play. And then that's probably how I'm going to build my lineups, is just sort of pick, 3-2-2. I like that sort of, or did I miss one player? 4-2-2, or 3-3-2. You know what I'm saying? It adds up to 8. 3-3-1-1, however we do it. But that's one way.
That's a way to be different today is your lineup construction. I mean, I am all for, usually like on FanDuel, I'm a 4-4 guy, like to the max. And on DraftKings, most of the time I'll have at least 5-man stacks. But today, with the slate the way that it is, I mean, that's how I'm going to get different. I mean, we know you like playing your 10%, so
I can't fool anybody apparently. By the way, Max video in chat saying the Giants got to Strider. They did. I think his worst start of the season was against the Giants. I saw it this morning. Like, does that mean I'm not going to play him now? No. Like,
it's a different lineup too.
It's different lineup, and like he's changed he's been getting better as the season he's been a little hit and miss, but mostly hit of late. His K rate is one of the highest K rates in baseball, not just on the slate. On the slate, easily, he's like beating the field by like 10%.
Well, like that game was in Atlanta too. Was it hot? Like, there's so many more factors than just the Giants hit him today.
Yeah. I don't know if he got bad, but I'm not sure what the story is, and I basically don't. It's a long story short. I don't really care. We're going to talk about bats in a second, Aaron. If you're listening closely, Aaron, you can tell we're actually talking about the bats as we're talking about the arms. We're kind of going back and forth, and without saying it, I feel like we're saying, you know what, we don't love the Giants today. Without saying it, I feel like we're saying we don't love the Cubs because we like Bassett. And we also talked about the Pittsburgh bats. We talked about the Cincinnati bats and how that can kind of go both ways. With minor or picking on minor, and mentioned some of the cheapies there in Cincy to make stuff work. But somebody that's tuned in right now, Stevie, they want the summary. It's a quick summary, but the summary as far as arms, and we'll go around the horn and give our favorite players position by position.
Strider had his highest home run per 9 in fly ball, highest BABIP of the season, and his xFIP was still decent in that Giants game. Moving on. I think we have talked about it. Bassett's super in play, depending on the weather. Roth is coming up after us here in a few minutes. He'll give us an update on the weather there. But Valdez, Strider, Bassett are the top 3 arms. John Gray's not going to pitch too deep. Tyler Anderson is just not a high ceiling pitcher. Alex Cobb and Jose Barrios are iffy. I would rank Cobb over Barrios today. And then after that, I mean, if you are playing 150 teams in a large field tournament, you could potentially take a shot on Mike Minor. But I'm not playing Criswell. I'm not playing Wilson. I'm not playing Nelson. I'm not playing Assad. Probably not playing Garrett. And I'm definitely not playing Eduardo Rodriguez. So I think this slate is kind of straightforward pitching. Bats, it's pretty straightforward for me with bats as well. But, I mean, there's some ways you could potentially get different with bats and with your roster construction in general.
Consensus rankings as far as our stacks today. Dodgers are number 1. Toronto's number 2. Mets 3, then Houston, then Cincy, then Pittsburgh. Kind of the way we hinted throughout the show, good offenses and some questionable. You don't really know what they're going to face as far as the guys that they're going to see. Do you agree with that? Are the Dodgers your favorite stack? Do you have somebody in front of them? Actually, I don't have the expert survey, but I'm sure you gave your answer there as well. I'm looking at the rankings, which is a different spot for that for different people. Yeah, your favorite stacks today. What are you on board with?
I mean, the Dodgers are my favorite stack today by far. Cincinnati is actually like a close second. I really like Cincinnati today. Wrote up on scores and odds today. Here's a freebie for everybody. I love the over 2.5 earned runs on Wilson today against the Cincinnati offense. So Wilson, I think, has given up at least 3 earned runs in 7 of 8 starts. I think that's what I wrote up this morning. I can't remember. I wrote it up like at 10 a.m. So I'm sure the lines have moved and everything as well. But I love this spot for Cincinnati. Wilson's not a good pitcher. They are not a good offense by any means, but I mean, they have some decent hitters at the top half of this lineup. So bottom half, I mean, is swing or miss guys, but Wilson's not a swing or miss pitcher. So I could see the Reds having a really good day here against Wilson. And I mean, I love the Dodgers. Like I said, Nelson is someone that has struggled with home runs in AAA, and he's facing the best team in baseball tonight against the Dodgers. So, I mean, the Dodgers, the Reds. I like the Mets if the weather stays okay in that game, and I like the Pirates a lot today.
All right, let's go around the horn, give our favorite players position by position. We'll start with catcher, whatever comes up organically in the chat. You got Carty and Roth, and you got Dave Potts. CheeseIsGood. Come about 20 minutes or so. So we're going to be give our favorite players position by position as we're leading up to the crunch time, the Fanduel sponsor crunch time. Started catcher, Stevie. What do you got as far as catcher tonight?
I mean, do you want to pay up or do you want to save money? I mean, if you want to pay up, you go Will Smith or Kirk, or you go all the way down and you look at Jason Delay or Chucky Robinson. That game is either one of those cheap catchers. They're both hitting towards the bottom. Here's the thing. Like, you could take maybe Heim, but that game's in Miami. It's the second game of the doubleheader. You could potentially take Fortes in that same game against Gray, but you're going to get some bullpen there. And Miami's bullpen is actually solid, or Texas bullpen is solid too. For me, it's Will Smith or go down, and I like Jason Delay more than I like Chucky Robinson. I like Chucky Robinson's name better.
Sure.
What a name. But I mean, Jason Delay has actually been hitting the ball pretty well here over the last, week and a half. And I mean, Mike Minor is just awful. So I think you take a shot on him more. But yeah, I mean, cheap catcher, you're hoping to get anything out of those guys at 2K.
Dodgers lineup just dropped. Pretty standard. Betts leading off. Trey Turner, Freeman, Will Smith batting cleanup. Muncy, he missed a couple days with his knee, but he's good to go, it appears. Leprechaun, Justin Turner's batting 6. You got Joey Gallo, 2.1K on FanDuel. Thompson in the 8th spot, and Bellinger, former MVP, batting 9th. First base. First base is a pretty tough decision point because you got the Polar Bear, Alonso, really good price on FanDuel. I want to say it's 3.5 over there. Freeman and Vlad, I think those are the big 3. And, that ideally I'm going to get one of those 3. That's my thought process. And there is an opportunity cost because I think at least one of those 3 does something big today. Do you have a stand amongst those 3, or you have a similar process of whichever one you kind of land on as far as your 3-3-2 kind of stack is how it's going to work?
I think Freddie Freeman is the top hitter on the slate today, so I'm leaning Freddie Freeman. He's one of the hottest hitters in baseball, and I know people don't love hot streaks and whatever. Everyone has their own opinion and have your own opinion, but Freddie Freeman, when he's hitting the ball well, he just seems to do it for a good amount of time. So the fact that he is hot right now, I like Freeman a lot. So he's someone that I'm definitely going to be looking at. And like I said, I think he's the top hitter on the slate. I'm going to throw caution at the wind on Toronto today, just in general, like not even just Vlad. I don't expect Criswell to pitch deep, and you're getting a pretty rested Tampa Bay bullpen. Their bullpen's really good. So you're going to get a bullpen that can kind of play the matchups here. I'm iffy on Toronto. Like I said, I'm playing one team. I think I'm going to fade Toronto today. So I would rank Freeman and Alonso ahead of Vlad today at first base. But I'm with you. I think there's a huge opportunity cost. Maybe Christian Walker against Anderson, lefty-righty. Walker has a lot of power, but I don't think this is a day you're really going to try to go down and spend money. I think if you're punting first base, it's probably Choi. going up against Barrios.
Could be Chavis. Chavis is 2K versus Minor.
Yeah, Chavis against Minor. So, I mean, I guess there's a couple punts, but I think I'm with you as far as first base. There's a lot of opportunity cost and I'm paying up.
You got the Husky Vogelbach as well against Javier Assad.
Yeah, but he's not really paying down, is he? I mean, he's 4-1.
No, he's kind of caught in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
My thought is the same. If I'm going to pay 4-1, I'm going to find a way to pay a little bit more. And on FanDuel again, like you got Alonso pretty cheap over there. I think Freeman is 3.9. I want to say I should probably just pull that up. I am playing over there, but just you got two different salaries jump off the top of my head. But all right, let's jump to second favorite play as far as second base. Now, if you were considering Brandon Lau, cross him off your list. He's not playing, especially on FanDuel. He's like 2-4 over there, and also India is not playing. So second base normally a rough position, although you can pay up for Altuve, or if you're playing on DK, you got Mookie Betts at second base too, which is nice. Just a way to build a different lineup, right? You throw Betts at second. You gotta pay for it. He's 6'3" over there.
It's so weird that he's second base eligible. Did he play second base like a game or something?
I think that's they've been talking about making him a second baseman. I know they found spots to throw him at second. I think they want to have him to be comfortable there by the time the playoffs roll around. And I think he came up as a second baseman, possibly. Also a fabulous bowler, too. Not for nothing. He's like bowled himself a several 300 games, I believe. Loves that bowling. This doesn't pay as well. Is Walter Ray Williams Jr., is he still dominating the bowling world? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. What do you have as far as second base?
I mean, obviously, Mookie Betts on DraftKings makes a ton of sense as second base if you want to pay up and use maybe some salary saving in the outfield. But one of my favorite plays on the entire slate today is Castro from Pittsburgh. Started the season, I think it was like May, right? April, May. He was with the big league club, got sent down. And ever since he's come back, he's actually been hitting the ball really well. And he's been hitting the ball really well against lefties. And he gets Mike Minor. So love this spot for him today. Like I said, he's one of my favorite plays on the entire slate, not just at this position. And he's, 2.4K or something? So I tagged him and wrote him up on Lineup HQ today as one of my conviction plays. I love this spot for him. Outside of that, I mean, Marcus Semien against Garrett, I think is okay. Altuve, if you want to spend up at, we should probably talk more Houston because, Eduardo Rodriguez his struggles with command and with Houston in general, just not really striking out a ton. They're going to be making a lot of contact or walking and then making a lot of contact in this game against Eduardo Rodriguez. So Houston is one of those stacks that could make your lineups different if you want to pay up at pitching today. But yeah, I mean, I like this spot a lot for Castro. He's someone I really want to play.
Who do you think you are? I am. You remember that quote, Stevie?
I'm trying to think of the movie.
No, you think it's not from Kingpin. It was actually from Pete Weber, professional bowler, after bowling a strike, and he was talking smack. And you got to appreciate, he wears shades too. Like if you want to be a cool bowler, you wear sunglasses as you're bowling. You got to be a certain level of good, I believe, to pull that off.
Saying the guy that grew the mustache.
All right. What else we have going on in chat? Was there something else that was worth noting?
Roth is traveling and he's not going to be here today.
Oh, okay.
He got the call from the bullpen. Grant filling in for him today.
Oh, that's a downgrade, right?
Yeah, I mean, depends how you look at it. I will say that he did post to us in Slack, and he said that he will have an update here soon on the Mets game, but it does look good enough to play. So that's always good to know.
Myself and Grant, we talked several hours ago. We did the Scores and Odds show, and I can't think of the name of it. I should know the name of the show that it was on, but I forgot.
Daily Locks, Dean. Gosh. Man.
I don't host the show, so I never say the name.
It's actually Live Locks, but
live. I mean, I was close enough.
Judges,
I promote it. I mean, I promote it every once in a while on the morning grind, but yeah, there you go.
Speaking of Scores and Odds, by the way, there is somebody wrote an article today for Scores and Odds. I believe it was Keith. Let me go ahead and drop it in chat for the people. If you're betting props and things of that sort, if you're into such things, he's got a couple pitching props. Eyes Breakers. His last name is Eister. You see how that works? his picks as far as I mean, some of the stuff changes. You got to be quick, especially the lines are fragile. You got to pounce once you see these articles, or join Discords, join the prop shop with Chief. You got to get those lines early. He's got a Melvin Gordon take, he's got an Alex Cobb take, and he's got a Spencer Strider take as well. All those S's drew me off, I suppose. Hey, if you don't want to bet a prop and you don't want to play DFS, like 6-gamer, 7-gamer, that's too much for me. I don't want to play against TV head-to-head. You can play on Stat Hero. If you aren't aware of Stat Hero, it's a unique fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete only against the house, not against other players in a contest. You can participate in a head-to-head style contest where Stat Hero, they're going to provide a lineup, and you have to make your own lineup to beat that lineup, take them down. They also have pick'em style contests. We have a promo code to get you started. It's Grinders, GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus, up to $250. And Stevie, you were kind enough to take the time to pick out what we hope is going to be a winner. What do you have for the people?
Did a pick over there. It is Freeman and Altuve against Turner and Jose Ramirez. So I'm on the Freeman Altuve side. Like I said, I think Freeman's the top hitter on the slate. Really think Houston's in an underrated spot. So I'm going with Freeman and Altuve against Trey Turner and Jose Ramirez today.
I don't even know who Jose Ramirez is playing today. It's not on the slate. I don't acknowledge it.
Isn't that the 6-10 game?
I think so. I'm not sure. Yeah, I couldn't tell you who's playing.
It's on
Braves lineup just dropped. Looks pretty standard. Acuna, Swanson, Riley, Olsen, Darno, Harris, Grissom, Rosario, Grossman. No.
Dietmers is pitching against Jose Ramirez today.
Okay. Let's knock out third base. Hot corner. What do you got for the people?
I mean, Hayes, you could play Castro there. Max Muncy. Hayes is someone I feel like is going to get some pretty decent ownership today, hitting 4th against Mike Minor for a lot of good reasons. I mean, disappointing year for Hayes. I think a lot of us had high expectations for him and in general. Not a position I think you necessarily have to spend up at. I mean, if you're going to spend up, I think it's Muncy or Bregman. With Castro and with Hayes, both of those Pittsburgh hitters hitting 3 and 4, I think that's where you're going to see a lot of value. And then they have that 2K guy, Josh Young from Texas, hitting 6 today. But I think Castro and Hayes is where I end up the most at third base.
According to Fangraphs, number 12 prospect in all of baseball, Josh Young. So, and again, I don't know if it's Young or Jung. I assume it's got to be Young, right? I don't know.
I would assume it's
a long J, like jogging. Is that how it goes? How do you pronounce that? No. I'm going to type it into a machine and see if I can get an answer. I'm curious now. Should have done this pre-show. What are you going to do? Anything else as far as third, or so you want to jump to shortstop?
I mean, if you have a third baseman in your stack or something, obviously. But, I mean, shortstop for me, I think there's a lot of opportunity costs at shortstop today. We talk about it at first base, but Seager, Bichette, Turner, Lindor are all really good shortstop plays today. And I'm just not seeing a ton of upside from the cheap plays. I mean, we'll see some ownership on Kevin Newman for hitting leadoff against Mike Minor. And, I mean, I hear that. But I think, Turner and Seager are in such good spots today. I know it's lefty-lefty for Seager, and people are, it's lefty-lefty. Seager hits lefties well. They have a lot of right-handed arms in the bullpen, so he's going to get, positive matchups. They're on the road. He's looking at 4 or 5 at-bats. Lindor against Assad. I like the Mets today. I know I haven't talked about them a lot, but I do like them today. So I think shortstop's a position, if you can make it work, you want to kind of pay up for today.
Hoosiers saying banners. Yes, Bellinger's in the lineup. I'm dropping in. You don't have to be a member of RG. You can just pull up the lineups page and feel free to check that out. And you can also sort it by position. And I saw Kid Catastrophes, my favorite $3,300 utility play on Fanduel. There's it's a slider. You slide the, it's at 9.5K. I don't know why it goes that high, but if for some reason it was 9.4K, we have the capabilities to handle it in the slider, but slide it down to 3.3. So you got 3.3 and cheaper, right? If it's utility, you let all the positions go. I think I saw you answer Muncy in chat. Was he just around 3.3? He's 3.3.
He is 3.3, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I'm fine with that. The first one that popped to me was Bregman at 3.3, but Muncy's probably a better play. They're both fine.
They're both good plays. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue amongst those two. Both certainly in play for me. You knocked out shortstop. Let's hit the outfield.
It's really, I mean, the two Reds hitters or three Reds hitters, honestly, are all in great spots today. Fraley, Friddle, Aquino, all those guys have home run upside. Reynolds on the other side of that game, he's kind of pricey. So I know we have him projected at like 20%. I don't know if we'll necessarily see him get up to 20% because of his price. You're using those teams as like cheaper values. So the fact that Reynolds is kind of pricey, I think he's cheap on, was he cheap on Fanduel or Yahoo? He's cheap on one of the two sites. But I mean, value wise, you're looking at that Pittsburgh Cincinnati game. Upside, obviously Mookie Betts, Bellinger, Joey Gallo is someone that has some upside as well. And then like the Houston outfielders, the Mets outfielders, and I mean, the Braves are going to be the forgotten foe today. It's just they're in a really tough matchup against the Alex Cobb. So if they get to Alex Cobb and you get him out early, the Giants, I mean, are they going to use the good part of the bullpen if they are already out of it in that game? I mean, every game kind of matters for the Giants right now, so maybe. But I mean, I don't really see the Giants running down the wild card at this point, and we're eventually going to see them kind of shut it down. So I don't know if we necessarily see the Giants use their good bullpen today if the Braves get Cobb out early.
I thought the Giants are just basically out. What are they're mathematically eliminated. Less than 1% chance to make it. I guess they're
not technically out yet. Like, I mean, if they won every single game, but I mean,
tell them there's a chance.
The Mets and the Braves, whoever wins the NL East, the other team's going to be a wild card spot. That's almost locked in at this point. And then you have the Phillies, the Brewers, and the Padres kind of battling for that other wild card spot in the NL.
Padres 75% chance, Brewers 37%, Minnesota basically done at 8%, Baltimore basically done at 5%. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot. The White
Brewers
Sox
are only like 2 games or 3 games behind the Phillies and Padres. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say the Brewers are out of it yet.
No. I'm just, this is just what 538 has, and they've done the math and I haven't. But yeah, the Brewers have a chance at 37%. I think
it's going to come down to the Padres and the Phillies, but
we'll see. The projections have them both in, like 88% Philadelphia, 75% San Diego.
Is it 3 wild card spots?
I believe there's 3 wild card spots now. I think.
Okay.
I talked to us about Grant. Actually, Grant will be coming on momentarily, and he can probably confirm or deny because we were talking about playoffs baseball not too long ago. It is Josh Young, by the way. It did confirm via the machine. I typed it in.
When did they switch to 3 wild card spots?
Hey, man, there's money to be had, so they got to extend it.
Listen, I love playoff baseball, so that's fine. And I feel like playoff baseball is better with the Padres getting in. But, I mean, the AL is kind of a mess, and I want to see the Mariners get in because I think I think Seattle has a legit chance.
They're in.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in.
Seattle's in if it's 3. I mean, if it's 2, I mean, they could still get knocked out.
I think the 1 seed gets a bye. I'm pretty sure it's just the 1.
And then there's a play-in game, and then
I think they make this more difficult than it should be. But I think
is there 2? Is there? I mean, the wild card series, is that just 1 game or is it 3 games? Is there a play-in game?
I don't know.
I am going to spend the next 20 minutes looking up MLB postseason.
I'm not sure. We'll discuss it. Well, this is daily fantasy sports. We care about today.
Oh no, I have to. I'm so like, yeah.
In the chat. Yeah, good job, Reynolds on Fanduel.
So the 1 and 2 seeds get through, and so yeah, okay. I'm still only seeing 2 wild card spots.
No. Maybe there's an extra team.
No. There is. Okay, so the wild card round is 4 and 5 and 3 and 6. So there are 3 wild.
There's 2. Then there's 2 buys.
2 buys. 1 and 2 get a bye to the NLDS, and the wild card round is So I mean that makes sense.
So like the number of teams that get in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
It looks like 12 teams. Yeah, 12 teams get in.
Yeah, 3 division winners and then 3 wild cards. I mean that obviously changes everything, and
Hey, should I send out a tweet to give away another week free of RG Premium? It worked yesterday, and a lot of people liked it. They participated. I was going to send it out for the hottest take as far as the Denver-Seattle game. Hottest, most accurate take. Maybe I'll send this out. We'll give away a week free of RG Premium. Whoever gives the best answer. You got to be bold, though. You can't just be like Russ is going to cook or something, which he might. I don't. If he actually literally cooks, then
Is the only bold call like Pete Carroll beats Denver tonight? Like, no one actually thinks it's going to happen, but I mean that's kind of cool.
You never. We think we know about football. We
didn't think the Giants were going to beat the Titans.
Denver.
What's that hat?
I think it's like the Jersey Shore Waves or something like that.
Jersey Shore Waves. What league do they play in?
Down AAA.
Oh my gosh, Dean.
I don't think that's a real team, Grant. You're just making stuff up.
I don't think it's a real team either. I've never heard of it.
I'm going to look this up here.
And Derek's from the Jersey Shore, kind of, sort of.
I feel like I would know if there was a Jersey Shore.
Blue Claws. There was a Blue Claws.
Okay.
Right,
if you
there's a
Google
Blue
Jersey Shore waves, you get today
like an
the wave
octopus
height
on
in
your
Jersey
hat,
Shore
though.
exceeds 1 meter.
It was the Blue Claws.
I'm a big fan of the Isotopes. They're a big rival of the Waves. Hey, Dave, you tweeted yesterday about Baker Mayfield, and what was that? Tell us about the experience, about your Browns and facing them, and how did that go as far as the ups and the ebbs and the flows?
It was crazy. I mean, I had come around last year when he was hurt. It was kind of easier to watch him, even as I'm totally rooting for him and say, well, he's really not that great. But I didn't really realize it until you watch when you don't want him to do well, and you see these throws. You're like, yeah, I guess he's not great. He's really not great. I'm glad we won. I mean, we still almost managed to lose, as we can do in almost any game, but. Kickers. It's all about kickers. If DFS still had kickers, I would win so much money this year. I would have been 100%, obviously, on Cade York. I was. Even not having kickers, I had him locked in my lineups.
Where did he kick? Do you know where he kicked in college? Was he at a big-time school?
Yeah, he was LSU. LSU, the highest kicker draft in like a decade or so, and he's a legit superstar.
I have him in
Blitz
my
has him as the number one kicker of all time. I just checked.
It is the wildest thing that the Raiders drafted Janikowski. Was it the first round or the second round drafting a kicker?
I believe it was pick 26.
Yeah, it was like that first round.
That's that as decision making goes, and the Raiders have done nothing with their picks since then. It seems like
we have already paid off the 4th round pick with that.
Congratulations on that, Carty. You got the I was combining the two. The blitz and the bat. I'm sure things are very, very busy in your world. Of course, you're going to talk about the bat in a second as far as the slate. But do you have any quick takeaways as far as football, or we're not going to overreact? It's just week 1, and that's just how variance and yada yada. Anything that's worth mentioning? Of course, you'll be talking about it on the Blitz show this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, don't overreact. Except where it comes to usage. Like if you're a Cam Akers guy or a Travis Etienne guy, like you can be worried, but don't overreact to like performance or like, guys who scored 2 touchdowns or anything like that. I am pretty excited Michael Thomas might be back though. That's exciting.
Was that he had like two touchdowns, but maybe 5 catches? I didn't see the breakdown. And I think he was only in the field like 60% of snaps.
He had like 12 targets though.
Okay.
Yeah, he had like a 25% target share on like not even being on the field the whole time. And like, that's exciting.
Okay, but like Kamara was barely in the offense. I imagine that's going to change somewhat, or maybe he just gets downgraded. I don't know if Jameis is going to be checking down or what, but I guess Thomas stole a bunch of Kamara's targets. I don't know. We'll be talking about this stuff. It's one game. We'll see. Grant, you got any takeaways? Thanks for jumping in and playing the role of chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. Can you tell us what's going on weather-wise for the what is it, the Mets game? What do you got?
It's going to rain.
Is it?
Maybe not on top of the game. Maybe not enough to stop it, but it's going to rain in places in the U.S.
Well, that's not helpful.
You didn't ask me. You just asked what the weather was.
You asked him to be a weatherman. He just nailed it.
I asked for a specific location, though, not the entire continental United States.
Why am I still here? Bye, guys. Have a good show.
All right. Well, I think Roth is going to post something in Discord. I will do our best to drop it in chat. Kindly hit that like button in chat. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Oh, and by the way, Dave, are you sitting down? You can play Kickers and Showdown. Like Showdown's going down tonight, and there's no other way to watch.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. When I can, we got a Thursday game in like 2 weeks. It will be Captain Cade York in 150.
There you go. Lock it in.
Should I be betting on a kicker tonight?
I don't know. And that's a Carty question. That's not a me question or a Dave question, I don't think.
Don't ask me kicker questions. That's like asking me BVP questions or some nonsense like that. Like I can't deal with kickers.
Kickers aren't real? Is that basically what you're saying?
Kickers are all the same.
Fair enough. I'm going to step aside and get out of here. You guys have plenty of time to knock this out. You can go through this like in 15, 20 minutes if you really want to. But unless you got anything else, Grant, or you're good.
I'm looking at kicker props.
Okay.
Trying to see if there's an edge.
Well, there you go. If there is one, I'm sure you'll find it. I'm going to step aside and make way for Derek Carty, for Dave Potts, for not Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, but it's Grant Neefer. Grant, it's the Fanduel sponsor. Crunch Time,
Jason
Grant.
Myers over 5.5 points.
You feel good about that?
Putting 300 on it.
There you go. YOLO.
I like to party.
Grant, this is the point where you start playing the role of the host, and I just sneak out the back door. So,
Yeah, but first, make sure you bet on a kicker before we start.
I'm doing it right now. I just have to find it. It's over at Bet365. Kicker points. Jason Myers over 300. Boom.
Well, Grant, if you're not going to host the show,
Well, guys, get
I
out
gotta
of here.
make some
Dean.
lineups.
No one wants you here. Go home.
I'm okay, but
Not
you're
my home, preferably. You've been here enough.
Tell Docs I say hello. All right, take it over, Grant.
All right, see you, Dean. Guys, it's crunch time. I'm not Kevin Roth. He was a late scratch. I don't think he can figure out time zones, but that doesn't matter. I'm here. I'm here to not give analysis because guess what? 2 very smart baseball fantasy players and 1 very good real-life baseball player, Dave Potts, are here. How you doing there, Dave?
I am doing excellent. Not only did we start some, undefeated Cleveland Browns this weekend, Cobra Kai new season came out on Friday.
Dude,
Greatest
I'm
show
like
of all
8 episodes
time.
in. I was watching it right before I got called onto
So,
the show.
so great. I can't even just explain how much I love it. Growing up, Johnny Lawrence is like next to George Costanza is like my favorite TV characters. I just love it.
Oh, it's beautiful. I was talking with Dean earlier today. It's gotten off the rails. It's kind of taken the Fast and Furious path. Like,
I have
this
not
would
seen
never-
the new season yet.
No,
so.
no spoilers because
Yeah.
there are some people catching up, but it's great.
Yeah, it just gets wild, and I'm loving every moment of it. But yeah. So you haven't got up yet, Carty? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm a little surprised that a guy who stares at maps and geography and that sort of thing for a living can't figure out Pacific time from Mountain time, I guess. Like, I don't know, but happy to have you on board, Grant. Good to see you.
It could be. I don't know where he's at, but there's some confusing ones. Like Idaho, that farther north you go, it goes back a time zone.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's super annoying. Like Coeur d'Alene is an hour behind Boise.
There is also a thing called Google. You can put in Boise, Idaho time zone, and it will tell you what time zone it's in.
Yeah, my main thing is get Google Maps to finally just incorporate time zone. Like, you will arrive at this point in time, and they don't for some reason. So, yeah, time zones are confusing. I just wait for my phone to change. But we got baseball to talk about. It's an interesting little slate that I haven't really looked at too much because I'm focused on football and betting kicker props because I just like to gamble. You guys ready to get on into it? I can't remember if we start with Fanduel or DraftKings. It's been so long since I've been on the show.
We'll kind of do both at the same time.
All right, let's talk pitching. We'll start off with the curator of the bat and the blitz. Go sign up with those guys. It blitzed pretty well first week, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was a good first week. And if you guys, obviously it's great for DFS. And if you guys are betting people, we're doing a blitz prop show every Wednesday now, live, like prop release show. We had some lines move this week. We were 2-1. So definitely join us Wednesday, I think at like 3:30 Eastern. So
Yeah.
there's that flow.
Roth will be there, but a couple hours late or early.
But yeah, tonight we kind of have like an upper tier of pitching of like, however you want to break it down, either 2 or 3 guys. We kind of have Spencer Strider and Chris Bassett as like the top 2 and Framber Valdez kind of like right behind them. They're all good pitchers. They're all in good matchups, kind of against weak offenses or in good parks. I don't have like an issue. Which of these guys you want to pick. I think on DraftKings and cash, I would lean towards Strider and Bassett. I think on FanDuel, I'd probably lean towards Bassett, but I'm fine if you want to play Strider instead. Valdez is more expensive than both of them on FanDuel, so I think he's more of a GPP play. I guess also more expensive on DraftKings. But if you like him better, like it's not the end of the world. But I do think it's probably Strider and Bassett. And then after that, pitching gets real gross. I think Mike Minor and Alex Cobb are kind of like the next tier of guys that you can take shots on in GPPs. And you really might not have to go much beyond that because there's really nothing to like after that. Like maybe Eduardo Rodriguez at like 3% ownership, maybe, but that's like it. I'm curious like how deep your pool is going to be tonight, Cheese.
Cheese, let us know how deep your pool is. Is it indoor or outdoor? Is it
an
above
outdoor
ground or
pool.
below?
It's one of those slope down from.
Does
2
it
feet to
have
3
a
feet.
slide or a diving board?
What about a lazy river? Can you install a lazy river with your millions?
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Check back next spring. There will be a lazy river. So on FanDuel, there's really no excuse not to just use one of the top 3 pitchers. And there's so like the salary difference between the sites is huge. I cannot endorse anything other than really even just Strider and Bassett. Like I have a couple of Valdez just because if you do enough lineups, you got all the money sitting there, sure. But just play Strider or Bassett on FanDuel and be done with it. Like there's no need to mess around. There is some need to mess around on DK because there's this handful. You kind of have to talk offense with the pitching. There's this handful of teams that are crazy expensive on DK. Like Dodgers, Blue Jays, Astros, Mets, Braves. If you want to go with like the top 3 or 4 bats from any of those teams, you can't go double aces. If you do anything other than that, though, and if you play the chalky pieces in the Pirates-Reds game, then you can easily go double aces everywhere. I think the vast majority of my lineups are double aces. The vast majority of everyone else's are probably going to be some combo of Strider, Bassett, Valdez with a bunch of cheap Pirates and Reds. Like that's the very obvious build, and I love it. I think, like Carty said, I think Minor and Cobb. Cobb is my favorite next guy. That upside potential is a little easier to see. Everyone below them has risk, though. You know, if you're doing like I didn't do 100 lineups tonight, but if you were, I would completely mix and match Minor, Cobb, Barrios, Anderson, and Erod, and just throw them in a blender and see what it throws out because all of those guys have downside. And really Cobb's the only one that I kind of like. And then I do have like 1 or 2 lineups with Bryce Wilson, lineups that I would plan to lose with, just because that's kind of the thing you can do to get 1 ace plus a Dodgers, Astros, Blue Jays type of stack. But I'm about 80% just Strider, Bassett, Valdez on DK and 100% those 3 on FanDuel.
All right. Well, and tell us about some bats, starting off with catcher, I believe.
All right. Like every position we come to pretty much, there's going to be this huge gap of there's like a Dodger or a Blue Jay or an Astro, maybe a Met priced way up, and then a Pirate and a Red priced way down. And then they're also real different between the sites. So specifically at catcher, on FanDuel, Will Smith and Kirk are like basically free, like play them by all means. On DK, in a cash game, make sure you get 2 aces, which means you're not going to get Smith or Kirk. But you can probably get Danny Jansen, which I see the bat actually has Jansen ahead of Kirk, which is a little surprising, but not crazy. Like Jansen's good. So I'm quite happy with Jansen. I think you can punt with like Maldonado at 24 if you need it, but that's really all we have at catcher.
All right, Carty.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like Jansen at his price is really good tonight. I think he's kind of your guy, but Kirk is good. Smith is good in your Dodger stacks. I guess like Jonah Heim or Carson Kelly are fine. I don't hate Eric Haas as like a little bit of leverage off of Valdez, but I think that's kind of it.
All right. Well, go ahead and lead us off with first base.
Sure. Vladimir Guerrero is definitely going to be our top first baseman here. And I think he's fairly easy to get up to. He's really good. The Blue Jays are one of the top teams tonight. They're facing this Criswell character, and that's nice. You also have Spencer Steer hitting second for Cincinnati, and he's 2.6 on DraftKings. So if you want to punt, you can. I think you're kind of just going up or down, though. On FanDuel, you can throw Pete Alonso into the mix. He's 300 cheaper than Vlad, projects similar enough. So I think you're playing one of those two on FanDuel. And then, you're playing guys that are in your stacks. You're playing, guys like Steer or guys like, Choi in Tampa Bay stacks, I think is fine, that kind of thing.
All right. Cheese.
So yeah, like the pricing thing on DK, Vlad, Freeman, and Alonso are like almost $6,000, and Steer is $2,600, or Michael Chavis is $2K. It's just like this wild difference where, assuming you want to go double aces, you have to just pick out a couple high-end guys you're going to spend on and then punt everywhere else. I think it's totally fine to use that spend up on Vlad, Freeman, or Alonso. But you don't have to. But on FanDuel, Vlad and Alonso are just a little too cheap. It's not hard at all to fit one of them with one of the aces. So that's what I would do on FanDuel. And yeah, DK, that's really the group. Like spend way up or spend way down. The mid tier is kind of weird and unnecessary.
All right, lead us off at second base.
Okay, so here we see it again on DK. You can spend $6,300 on Betts, or $5,800 on Altuve, or you can spend like $2,400 on Castro, or $26 on Castillo, $23 on Lopez. So it's expensive Dodgers, Astros, or super cheap guys in the Reds Pirates game. My preference is Castro. But then on FanDuel, they don't really cost that much. You have Max Muncy at second at $33. You have Marte is only $2,700. Jeff McNeil's only $26. So I think you don't need the Pirates Reds nonsense on FanDuel at second, but you do on DK.
All right, Carty.
Yeah, I kind of totally agree. The only thing is, I would say I think Michael Chavis is viable on FanDuel for sure. You don't need the savings, but he projects close enough to some of the other guys anyway that I am fine with him if you're not going up to Muncy or Ketel Marte. But otherwise,
one thing I didn't look at, do you have pinch hit risk on Chavis?
I can pull that up real quick. I don't think it's especially high. I don't think he's a guy they really pinch hit for that often.
I mean, it doesn't really matter at that salary.
Yeah, 10%, which is not nothing, but it's not a lot either.
Okay, and by the way, someone asking in chat if we can play Bassett. So Roth's most recent tweet was increasing chance for rain late in New York, not impossible, but a pop-up could cause a delay at any point, but it would be more likely late, if at all. I don't think I'd fade this in any capacity or format.
Yeah, and his last little message when he was saying he couldn't make it was it looks good enough to play. So I'm playing Bassett. I would not worry about it.
Okay.
So third base
yeah.
is I think Carty's supposed to go first. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to steal Carty's third base thunder.
Yeah, I mean, third base doesn't really have like a standout guy. Like if you want, you can spend up on like Matt Chapman or Yandy Diaz or Max Muncy's expensive on DraftKings or that kind of thing. But the cheap guys really don't project that much worse. That being the Pirates guys, Cabrian Hayes at 3,400, Castro at 2,400. I don't think you have to go expensive at third base on DraftKings. On FanDuel, the pricing's completely different. Matt Chapman is the top guy. He's $5K, 4.9 on DraftKings, and he's 2.7 on FanDuel. So like you probably just play Matt Chapman on FanDuel. You can go down, though. We mentioned Spencer Steer at first base. He's third base on FanDuel, and he's 2.1K, so you can play him for sure. We've also mentioned Muncy being reasonable on FanDuel and Chavis being reasonable on FanDuel. You can play either of them at third if you want, but I think it's probably like Chapman or Steer, and then on DraftKings it's Hayes or Castro.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that's totally how it goes. Like this FanDuel pricing is just too easy, and you don't have to do the punts. You can throw like Bregman in the mix there, but with Chapman at 2,700, you don't need the cheap Pirates stuff that you kind of do need on DK. I like Hayes and Castro a lot. I guess I'll say on DK, don't completely forget if you're MME that the Rangers Marlins game is on there. It's a weird game overall because you got two good pitchers but are coming off the IL and not probably going to pitch long. But this Josh Jung guy for Texas is really a good prospect. And he's still 2K. So if you need a punt and you're just tired of having all the Pirates Reds punts, I think Jung you could kind of toss in there.
All right. Shortstop.
Again, the pricing between the sites is crazy. Like Francisco Lindor at 6,200 is I don't know. It's fantastically mind-boggling. Trey Turner and Bichette would be better than him anyway. You can do like a Jeremy Pena or a Kyle Farmer, I think on DK right around 4K is quite reasonable. But on the FanDuel side, Bichette is priced up. I still like him. Trey Turner at 3,900, like sure. But I'm not crazy about these shortstops quite as much. Like I'd rather spend up on like Vlad and Freeman than Bichette and Turner, but it's close. I like Castro. Jeremy Pena at being 25 is quite useful on FanDuel. That's about it.
Carty?
Me and Cheese are just agreeing all show because like the pricing, like it's just so obvious today. Like Turner's 3,900 on FanDuel. I guess the only thing I would quibble with is I think I'd make him more of a priority than Cheese does. But if you want to go down to Jeremy Pena or Rodolfo Castro, Diego Castillo, I think is fine. Like you can play those guys. And then on DK, the guys you go down to are Kyle Farmer, Kevin Newman. That's the whole thing.
All right.
This is a fascinating slate, really.
I know.
It's got me interested in playing a single game football contest where the Seahawks are one of the teams.
You can play some money on a kicker over 5.5 points like I did.
I'll be getting there soon.
So excited to root for field goals. Carty, outfield.
I mean, we have the cheap Cincinnati Pittsburgh stuff, which I think makes a lot of sense because I think the spend ups at other positions are a little better than the ones in the outfield. So like we have TJ Friedel for 2,800, Jake Fraley for 3K, Aristides Aquino for 2K on Cincinnati on DraftKings. We have 2.6 for Diego Castillo on the Pittsburgh side. So like all the cheap stuff on DraftKings is great. On FanDuel, Fraley and Friedel are both really cheap, so they're good. Brian Reynolds is always way too cheap on FanDuel, so 2,500 for him tonight is really nice. I like some of the Blue Jays stuff. Tasker Hernandez is always reasonably priced on FanDuel, so I like him quite a bit. But I think George Springer is in the mix. And then I like some of the Rays stuff. Arozarena and Peralta in particular. And obviously Mookie Betts in your Dodger stacks or as a one-off or in cash. He's really good. And that's kind of it.
Geez, assuming you're going to say the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all predicted when the season began that eventually we would get to the point where you just play Fraley and Friedel and move on, That's what it's all about. Like this is we have weird chalk sometimes, like Jake Fraley and TJ Friedel being maybe the highest owned players on a slate. That's some weird chalk, but I mean, it's right, and just finding random things to giggle about. Randy Arozarena being 6,100 is one of them. Like, but no one will play him because of that. So I
The
do
crazy thing about just to
Yeah.
interrupt for one second, the crazy thing about Fraley and Friedel, it's not even just that they're like cheap. They project as the third and fourth best outfilders on the entire slate.
It's
today.
awesome to see them
Think of that.
ahead of Acuna. Yeah, like Fraley, Friedel, Acuna. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, it's really weird. Like it's hard to fade them on DK. It's way more interesting on FanDuel where you can afford guys like Teoscar and Nimmo. Tucker and Alvarez are more affordable there. I think Brian Reynolds is kind of just the go-to there. And then I think you kind of mix and match those somewhat more expensive guys because they're not that expensive. There's really just not much else to say. Like this is what the slate is.
All right. Did we talk about stacks? I can't remember at this point.
Not particularly.
All right. Well, guys, start throwing in those questions. Carty, who'd you like for besides the pay-ups for pitcher?
It was like Cobb and Minor, and then maybe Eduardo Rodriguez if you're feeling really frisky on DraftKings. But I don't think you have to extend yourself too much with pitching tonight.
All right. Cheese, DKGPP for a Houston stack. Which lefty between Alvarez and Tucker do you prefer? Alvarez is 4x higher owned, apparently.
I prefer Alvarez, but I like them both.
All right, Carty, McNeil and Will Smith or Muncy and Steer, FanDuel Cash. Can also go with Friedel instead of Smith.
Repeat that one more time for me.
McNeil and
Friedel,
either
because
Smith
he's
or
definitely
Friedel,
the choice.
or Muncy and Steer.
What was the first one?
McNeil and either Will Smith or Friedel.
Okay, we're Muncy and Steer. I think it's Muncy and Steer. But I think you got to get Friedel in there probably.
All right, Cheese, Lindor or Turner in FanDuel Cash.
Go Turner there.
All right, Carty, best stack to win at GPP.
I'm going to say the Rays tonight. I think they're going to come in under-owned. Like everyone's going to be on like this Reds Pirates stuff. Blue Jays, the Dodgers are going to pick up some ownership. I think the Rays are getting lost in the mix.
All right, Cheese, FanDuel Cash Flex, Will Smith or Friedel.
It seems so crazy, but it's Friedel, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's so weird to say. Carty, do you have Friedel ahead of Smith too?
I would be surprised if I don't.
Yeah, it just seems so wrong, but like I think it's right.
Yeah, Friedel projects better than him. Friedel's a top 10 guy on the slate.
That is wild.
Fraley's a top 5 guy.
All right, let's see. We don't have any questions right now. People are putting in the questions. Where you guys? I know we talked a little bit about Cobb. I love Cobb today. Granted, I'm not playing, but I love Cobb today.
I love Cobb in general. He's so good and so underrated, and he's gotten so unlucky this year, and he's had so many just horrible matchups. And Cobb is a really, really good pitcher.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely my favorite of the non-top 3, which would make him number 4, I guess is another way to say that.
Cheese, DFS tournament, Farmer and Reynolds or Tucker and Steer for FanDuel.
I like Farmer and Reynolds.
All right, and we're out of questions again. What does Roth normally do when we run out of questions? How does he delay things like I am currently doing?
Do you have any ocean trivia by chance?
So female dolphins, when they have a kid, male dolphins, in order to mate with her, will actually murder the kid. So what female dolphins do is just go mate with like 20 different dolphins. So they all think it might be their kid. So they'll all protect the female dolphin.
That's actually fascinating and fantastic.
Right?
Speaking of that, did you guys see the little Dolphins touchdown celebration?
I did not.
Go check it out. I don't even want to say anything about it. It's pretty good.
All right, Carty, Dodgers or Mets for all the monies?
Dodgers.
All right, another question for you, Carty. Who's the top scoring pitcher price? Doesn't matter. Who's the guy on FanDuel?
Strider and Bassett like project so close. I guess it's Strider, but like they're almost the same.
Yeah. Someone asking Strider over 7.5K prop. Any thoughts? Let's see what the bat has projected for Strider.
Bat has 7.76. So unless you're getting some decent plus money, that's going to be a no bet.
I'm seeing 8.08 now.
Let me refresh.
Yeah.
I am also seeing 8.08 now.
All right. Well, you can check out Scores and Odds and check out the prop shopping tool where you can see exactly what the juice is. And the juice is currently even money on the over. Plus, Scores and Odds projections likes it. So that's an overhead over at MGM plus 100. Cheese in having an Astros in a DK single entry. Would you rather have Pena and Hayes or Bregman and Barrio?
I would have Pena and Hayes.
All right. Carty, favorite stack to win a GPP?
Tampa Bay Rays.
All right. And checking YouTube.
So just kind of going to that favorite stack to win a GPP. Carty kind of touched on this when he was answering. Basically, Pirates, Reds are all the cheap chalk. And then Dodgers and Blue Jays with kind of the Astros and Mets are like, that's a lot of teams, but like that's everything. So anything at all that you kind of like outside of that group is going to be like you're the only one playing it. So Rays are in there. The Diamondbacks, I don't think are out of the range. And you could always do the Braves and just hope that they get Cobb out of, BABIP him again, like, because that's his thing is to get BABIP'd around and then maybe they get him out of the game early. It's still the Braves.
Okay. Someone asking if we theoretically had to choose, who would you choose between Fraley and Friedel? I assume it's Fraley if you have the money, but Friedel is point per dollar slightly better.
Yeah, Fraley. Fraley's definitely better raw, depending where you're playing. Maybe Friedel for point per dollar, but I think you just try to get Fraley.
All right. Let's see. Cheese, is it good leverage to play a Giants 3-man stack if Strider is high owned, or is it good enough to play not play Strider?
Yeah, you don't need to play against him to not be if he does poorly, he doesn't have to get shelled. He just has to not do great. Like, don't feel like you have to play Giants. Maybe don't just play Reds Pirates with either a Blue Jays or Dodgers stack, but it doesn't have to be the Giants to be the thing to get different.
All right. Carty, are Tigers stackable tonight?
No.
Yeah,
No, they're
that's
not.
the correct answer. I have the under on Framber Valdez.
At some point, the guy's like, you just got to say this is who he is. He's friggin' amazing real life pitcher.
Yeah. Cheese, what do you think about your boy Stone Garrett to be different in the outfield?
I love Stone Garrett so much. I love that he's overpriced on FanDuel. Like he's like more expensive than like Teoscar Hernandez. I think he's priced the same as Kyle Tucker. On DK, he'll be crazy low owned because of the Reds. I love him. I like Stone Garrett way more than anyone should. But he's legit and he's for real, and you should play him.
All right, Carty, or DraftKings single entry, better one-off, Betts or Altuve?
Betts.
All right. Cheese, is 1V pitcher viable based on what you just said, Cheese?
Assuming that means okay to play one bat against your pitcher? Is that what you're asking?
I think so. I just read it verbatim.
I would say yes. It's probably not necessary really anywhere tonight. Like I don't see that spot that I really like with that. But in general, on a smaller slate, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, and no one has any questions. I'm just going to tell some people what I'm betting tonight. Russell Wilson over 0.5 interceptions, plus 150 over at bet 365. Will Dissly over 1.5 receptions, plus 110 there. Framber Valdez under 2.5 earned runs, minus 155 at DK. I don't see any new questions yet, so I'm just going to keep going. Braxton Garrett under 4.5 strikeouts. What do you think about that, Carty?
What was the line on Garrett?
4.5 at -127 on the under.
Yeah, that projects with some pretty solid value.
Nice. Well,
Yeah, that's good when you like. There's a chance they only let him go 3 innings. I mean,
yeah,
we haven't heard anything official on that, but that's like,
yeah, he's going to be limited.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Cheese, DK single entry, Heim or Haas?
I prefer Heim.
I feel like that would be a good name of a restaurant, Heim or Haas.
And like one of their dessert choices could be a Freely Fradel.
Oh, I'd eat a Freely
just
Fradel.
Mix the letters around.
I imagine that has nuts on it.
German dessert of some sort. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Carty, Harris or Garrett for FanDuel GPP?
Harris or Garrett? I'm
Yes.
trying to.
Michael Harris or Stone Garrett? Is that the question?
It says Harris or Garrett.
It's a fantastic question.
Uh,
I'll say Stone Garrett. I don't care what the bat
I
says.
think
Stone Garrett.
it's probably Stone Garrett. It's a cool name. I'm not really super on any of them, but
Probably is Stone Garrett.
All right. Geez, thoughts on Grossman?
I mean, that's full stack only. I don't think you need to play a Robbie Grossman one-off against a good pitcher.
Carty, I don't know if this makes any sense. Good strategy to replace cheap Reds with cheap Reds to get different in tournaments. Peralta instead of Guaney. Okay, that makes sense now.
He meant
Cheap Reds with cheap
Reds with
Rays?
Rays.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm certainly fine with that.
All right. Cheese, Biggio or Hayes?
Lean Hayes there.
All right. We don't have any questions. We have 2 minutes. You guys got any team to win it all? Got that question in chat.
The Dodgers are pretty good.
The Dodgers are pretty good.
They're sitting at plus 350. I mean, at this point, I wonder what
I haven't looked at odds in a little while.
What about the Seattle Mariners at 25 to 1 now?
I know for a while the Braves odds look good, like all mid-season, but I think at this point that boat's probably sailed.
I think plus 900, they're probably the best of the more likely to win it bunch. The Rays at plus 3,000 is pretty decent.
Very intrigued to watch the Mariners. Like, it's not out of the range of possibility that that's the team that just kind of comes to life. Like they've got a bunch of those pitchers, like guys like Castillo and Ray. Like on the right night, they can just outduel the Coles or any Verlanders of the world. Like I like that team.
Yeah, no, I got them at plus or 110 to 1 earlier on in the season, and I might just be a homer. Yeah, we don't have any questions, I don't think, right now. But yeah, it's lock has hit. Yeah, no, I've got a bunch of money. I think it's just because I've never seen the Mariners actually make the playoffs. I started watching baseball the year after the last time they made the playoffs, and it's been miserable.
Yeah, that's a good team.
20 years now.
And they could be good for a long time if they are willing to stay there, willing to spend and keep some guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got they'll have Haniger and J-Rod locked up for a while. They got Ray locked up for a few years. Kirby's good.
I don't know what Gilbert and Kirby's contracts are, but I mean, those are two really good, very young pitchers.
I mean, Kirby's going to be at arbitration for a while.
So that's kind of one of those random teams I find myself rooting for more and more as the season moves on.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you on my side. Anything else before we get on out of here?
I think that's kind of it.
That's kind of it. Hey, so either one of you guys tell me, do we like that Travis Homer or do we like DJ Dallas if I feel like I just have to play one of those two guys because I do?
It'd be Homer for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do it. I'm doing it.
I do like DJ Dallas's name better.
Yeah, me too. That's the thing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. Good luck on your lineups tonight. You've been crunched.